Look deeper into that reflection and face the truth you usually whisper only in the dark. Have you ever truly confronted yourself with the single agonizing question, why am I not where I want to be yet? This is the silent war fought when no one else is watching, when the world is muted, and all you hear is the heavy weight of your unfulfilled potential. You know you're capable of more. Deep down, you feel the raw power. But then the enemy makes its move. It's not external, it's internal. Fear, doubt, and paralyzing frustration creep in. One moment, you're a force of nature, ready to seize everything, and the next, you're stuck, overthinking, hesitating, giving in to comfort when you swore you would change. This struggle isn't new, it's the fundamental conflict of human nature. This self-sabotage is a systemic weakness, and it has a long history. What if I told you that someone long before us saw this internal battle with absolute, chilling clarity and left behind a definitive map to conquer it? Niccolò Machiavelli lived and governed in a maelstrom of chaos, betrayal, and relentless power struggles. He understood that beyond the volatile politics and fleeting loyalties, the real battleground was the human mind. He concluded that self-mastery, not luck, charm, or brute force, is the one final element that separates the ordinary man from the unstoppable entity. His teachings are not gentle philosophy. They are raw, unvarnished psychological truths. They refuse to sugarcoat life and compel you to look inward. His core mandate: if you want absolute control over your life, you must first secure absolute control over yourself. This video is not about suppressing your humanity or being emotionless. It is about becoming emotionally impervious, reclaiming your sharp focus, your unyielding discipline, and the inner fire required to execute your vision, even on the days when nothing makes logical sense. If you have ever felt that something inside you, a hidden force of procrastination or fear, is holding you back, this is the brutal wake-up call you cannot afford to ignore. Before we ascend to the first of the 7 laws, declare your commitment in the comments and seal your mind against the coming storm. Write this into your being: I am in command of my internal fire, and nothing external can stop my rise. Let's begin the transformation. Number 1. Terminate emotional subjugation. The first, most critical law of becoming unstoppable is this: your feelings are not your facts. You must govern your emotions, not be ruled by them. There are inescapable moments in life when every fiber of your being screams for immediate reaction, when someone delivers a calculated disrespect, when events brutally derail your plans, or when the primal whisper of fear tells you that you are fundamentally not enough. In those pressurized moments, it is tragically easy to let your raw emotions seize the controls. But that is precisely where the majority lose the war, not to external forces, but to the chaos within themselves. Machiavelli understood a truth that most people never decipher. Emotions are natural, but they are not always helpful. Feeling intense frustration or blinding anger does not mandate action. Anger, fear, and even misplaced hope are unavoidable parts of the human condition. But the instant you permit these feelings to become the architects of your decisions, you willingly surrender your power. You cease choosing with clarity and begin reacting blindly. When this self-betrayal occurs repeatedly, you become someone even you cannot rely on. He once stated, "He who builds on the people builds on the mud." This warning extends far beyond politics. It means anything constructed on a shaky foundation, be it volatile emotions, fleeting opinions, or shifting moods, is inevitably bound to collapse. If your internal peace is contingent upon what others say or how the unpredictable day unfolds, then you are standing on mud. But if you ruthlessly train yourself to stay centered, calm, and strategically steady, even when life applies maximum pressure, then absolutely no storm can move you. The scenario of the critical pause. To master this law, you must recognize the moments of near failure. Think back to a high-stakes disagreement with a client or superior. They have just delivered a low-blow insult or an unreasonable ultimatum designed to provoke your professional collapse. The reactive response is immediate. Your heart pounds, your vision narrows, and you lash out with a defensive statement you instantly regret, costing you leverage or even the entire deal. The strategic response is the pause. You feel the white-hot impulse to react, but you stop yourself. You take a slow, deliberate breath. That 1-second delay, that quiet decision to remain calm and assess, is the highest form of strength. That pause is you seizing control. That pause is pure power. Later, you are overwhelmingly grateful you held your silence, because that moment of discipline preserved your reputation and secured your next strategic move. Machiavelli was not asking us to be emotionless automatons. He was issuing a fundamental demand to be emotionally disciplined, to be strong enough to feel deeply but act wisely. The person who can feel pain, absorb frustration, or withstand pressure and still stay strategically steady is already ahead of 99% of the population. So the next time your emotions attempt to hijack your control, ask yourself one crucial question before you move or speak. Am I choosing this response, or am I just reacting like a conditioned animal? Your clear, disciplined answer might just change the entire trajectory of your life. Number 2, embrace brutal reality. There comes a point in every man's life where lying to himself inflicts more catastrophic damage than any external enemy ever could. You must stop living in comfortable illusions. We all engage in this self-deception in small ways. We whisper to ourselves, "It'll fix itself," or "I still have plenty of time," or "Maybe tomorrow will finally be different." We desperately cling to these fantasies because they offer a temporary shield of comfort, helping us avoid the difficult truth staring us directly in the face. But deep down, the strategist knows that comfort doesn't change anything. Facing the truth changes everything. Machiavelli believed that nothing was more dangerous, more lethal to a man's potential, than allowing himself to be governed by illusions. He had zero regard for pretty lies or temporary, feel-good ideas. He demanded absolute clarity, even when that clarity hurt. He famously stated, "The wise man does at once what the fool does finally." In other words, stop waiting for the world to deliver a painful crisis to wake you up. Wake yourself up now, by choice. The psychology of avoidance. The core reason we avoid reality is the fear of its demands. We know that if we admit something isn't working, if we acknowledge our business is failing, or that a primary relationship is toxic, we will be immediately forced to change. If we accept that we've been inconsistent or lazy, we are forced to confront and accept responsibility. Responsibility is not easy. It is heavy. It is demanding. But it is also the undeniable first step to absolute freedom. You cannot grow while entrenched inside a lie. You cannot initiate deep healing if you keep pretending the emotional wound isn't severe. You cannot move forward if you are always waiting for fictional, perfect conditions. Life doesn't pause for your readiness. It is a current that keeps moving. The sooner you strip away the sugarcoating, the faster you seize genuine, lasting control. The scenario of the necessary truth. To internalize this law, confront two highly relatable scenarios where the truth demands action. The professional lie. You've been working on a business idea or project for a year. It is yielding zero profit, consuming all your time, and the data clearly shows the market isn't interested. The illusion is, I just need one more month, one more pivot, and it will be a huge success. The brutal reality is that the concept is flawed, and you are wasting your most precious resource, time, on a dead end. The truth demands you terminate the project immediately and pivot to a strategy with actual leverage. The relationship lie. You have a friend or partner who is constantly negative, drains your energy, and only reaches out when they need something. The illusion is, They're having a hard time. I need to be kind. They'll change eventually. The brutal reality is that they are a psychological parasite who views your loyalty as an endless supply. The truth demands you enforce complete distance and protect your energy for those who reciprocate. Ask yourself right now, with ruthless precision, what crucial, inconvenient truth am I actively avoiding? What reality am I desperately trying not to see? Maybe it's about your non-negotiable standards. Maybe it's about your self-sabotaging habits. Maybe it's about who you've been pretending to be for the benefit of others. You do not have to fix everything today, but you have a strategic and moral obligation to face it without flinching. Machiavelli's goal was not to make men cold or unfeeling. His purpose was to make them awake, clear-sighted, and ready to live with their eyes wide open, even when the truth they saw wasn't easy. Because once you stop hiding from the truth, you can finally start building a life that is real, strong, and unassailable. No one ever changed their life waiting for the right moment. They did it by choosing to see things as they are, not how they wish them to be. So ask yourself honestly, as a true strategist would, am I operating in the light of truth? Or am I hiding in the shadow of false hope? That answer might shake you to your core, but it will also save your future. Number 3, strategy trumps brute strength. You can raise your voice, you can clench your fists, and you can constantly tell yourself and the world that you are not to be messed with. But if your actions are not underpinned by a clear, long-term strategic plan, all that raw energy and effort will inevitably fall apart. Strength may briefly capture attention, but only strategy earns and commands enduring respect. And that respect, once strategically earned, is what opens doors and secures advantages that brute force never can. Machiavelli himself was famously unimpressed by impulsive brute force. He observed that genuine power does not shout. It moves in silence, plans meticulously ahead, and strikes only when the timing is absolutely optimal. He famously said, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." Many misinterpret this as a call to simple cruelty. He meant the opposite. Your presence, the way you carry yourself, the clarity of your decisions, and your unwavering consistency should be so strong that people think twice before crossing you, not because they fear random punishment, but because they recognize your profound clarity, your total self-control, and your lethal consistency. The burnout of impulse versus the endurance of strategy. Too often, we act out of pure impulse. We try to prove ourselves and our capabilities in the heat of the moment. But proof of power doesn't reside in emotional reaction. It lies in definitive, consistent results. And lasting results are born from strategy, from knowing precisely who you are, where you intend to go, and the most efficient path to get there without wasting finite energy on battles that hold no strategic value. Think back to all the opportunities you may have lost, a promotion, a crucial connection, a personal goal, because you rushed, reacted emotionally, or failed to think far enough ahead. That initial failure wasn't due to personal weakness. It was due to a failure of strategy. Emotion-driven strength burns fast and quickly burns out. Strategy endures. Scenario expansion. The office confrontation. To understand the decisive difference, picture a workplace scenario. A rival colleague attempts to publicly humiliate you by stealing credit for your work in a high-level meeting. The reactive response, brute strength. You immediately interrupt, raise your voice, and engage in a heated defense, making yourself look petty and uncontrolled in front of decision-makers. You won the argument, but lost the war. The strategic response, strategy. You stay perfectly calm. You let the rival finish, gathering the specific details of their lie. Later, privately, you present your documented evidence, the smoking gun, to the single person whose opinion matters most, the CEO, your direct superior, or HR. You did not fight the battle on their chaotic terms. You executed a cold, surgical maneuver that neutralized your rival permanently. You do not have to be loud to be strong. You do not have to control people to lead. You do not need to be omnipresent, doing everything at once. You need to be intentional. And that intention, married to foresight, is what makes a person truly powerful. It is the ability to think 3 steps ahead, remain grounded, and never lose sight of the ultimate prize. Being strategic means knowing when to deploy your words and when to maintain silence, when to engage in a necessary conflict, and when to walk away from a distraction, when to take a calculated risk, and when to hold back and wait. None of this is about petty manipulation. It's about maturity, about building a life that runs on direction and clear purpose, not on volatile energy. So, the next time you feel the primal urge to force your way through a challenge, pause. Ask yourself, what is the smartest, most efficient way to move forward? Not just the fastest or the loudest, because strength might temporarily break a single wall, but strategy builds and sustains entire kingdoms. Number 4, embrace unpredictable adaptation. Here is the relentless truth of the world. Life rarely adheres to your meticulously crafted plans. Just when you convince yourself you have secured stability, something fundamental shifts. The job you believed was stable vanishes overnight. The person you blindly trusted walks away without a word. The routine you relied on for comfort suddenly feels utterly useless. In those pivotal moments, your ability to adapt is not just helpful, it becomes your core survival mechanism. Machiavelli observed that those who refuse to change eventually break under external pressure. He delivered a mandate that holds more strategic weight than most advice you will ever receive. Whosoever desires constant success must change his conduct with the times. Success, therefore, is not about doing the same thing harder. It is about knowing precisely when to execute something entirely different. It demands listening to what the moment brutally requires, not what your comfort or ego desperately desires. You may be disciplined, you may be fiercely focused, but if you are not flexible, the rapid pace of life and competition will outpace you. There is no strength in being stubbornly committed to a plan that has failed. There is no honor in clinging to a version of yourself that no longer serves the life you are actively striving to build. Adaptability is growth, and unpredictability is the strategic armor that keeps you powerful, because no adversary can put you in a predictable box, and no challenge can anticipate your counter move. The scenario of forced evolution. The most painful moments in life often stem from our resistance to necessary change. We desperately hold on to what is familiar, even when it is actively causing us pain. We repeat the same flawed behavior even when the data proves it is no longer effective. We foolishly expect the world to adjust to us. In truth, it is always you who must evolve. To understand this, picture a classic professional crisis. You are blindsided by a major technological change that renders your primary, long relied upon skill obsolete. The rigid man freezes. He fights the new technology, complains about the shifting market, and clings to the old methods, convinced the world will eventually return to his comfort zone. He breaks, the adaptable strategist, unpredictable man. He registers the change without emotional collapse. He immediately asks, "What is this crisis trying to teach me about the future, and what new disruptive skill can I acquire faster than my competition?" He flows through the setback, learning and adjusting. He doesn't lose himself. He strategically discovers a more powerful version of himself that was waiting to be unlocked. The power of flow, not fight. Ask yourself honestly, when life throws a radical, unexpected challenge at you, how is your immediate response? Do you freeze in panic? Do you fight the inevitable reality? Or do you strategically flow through it, learning and adjusting as you go? Can you look at a sudden setback and ask, "What tactical advantage can I extract from this?" Instead of lamenting, "Why is this happening to me?" Being adaptable doesn't mean becoming weak or passive. It means possessing the inner confidence to acknowledge that sometimes the smartest, strongest action is a strategic retreat or a complete change of direction. Being unpredictable is not about being erratic. It is about being unshakable. Because when people and circumstances can no longer predict your every move, when life cannot successfully back you into a predetermined corner, you become a singular force that keeps moving forward, no matter the obstacle. That is true power. Not because you controlled the chaos, but because you possessed the wisdom to know when to let go of the failing plan. Shift your conduct and rise again, fundamentally stronger and wiser. Stay flexible, stay alive. That is how you win, not once, but perpetually. Number 5, control your image. Perception is leverage. It's a strange, inconvenient truth, isn't it? You can work tirelessly, harbor the best intentions, and possess a genuinely good character. But if the way you present yourself externally doesn't reflect that internal reality, the world may never grant you the credit you deserve. People rarely take the time to excavate your truth. They react instantly to what they see and feel from you. This is why managing your image is not an act of pretense. It is an absolute strategic necessity. Machiavelli delivered the fundamental clarity here. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. This isn't a cynical view of the world. It is a declaration of reality. In the high-stakes game of life, people don't carry mirrors. They carry perceptions, and those perceptions become powerful leverage that can open doors for you or quietly close them before you even realize. The alignment of inner and outer self. So, ask yourself the defining question. When people look at you, listen to you, and interact with you, what is the undeniable takeaway? Do they feel a calm, confident, authoritative energy, or do they sense chaos? Do you come across as focused and intentional, or uncertain, unsure, and constantly trying to over-explain yourself? This isn't about acting. It's about alignment. It's the strategic process of ensuring that the capable person you are internally and the presence you project externally are working in seamless, powerful coordination. Your actions, tone, posture, and presence must reflect the grounded, capable person you are striving to become. Here is the strategic truth. Your image is constantly communicating, even when your mouth is not. The way you enter a room, the decisiveness of your eye contact, and the composure with which you handle unexpected pressure, all of it sends critical messages. When those messages communicate, I am in control. I am not easily shaken. I know what I stand for. People respond, life responds, and opportunities respond. Scenario expansion. The unspoken message. To understand the difference, picture this common professional moment. You walk into a meeting where you are pitching a difficult idea. The uncertain man enters quickly, apologetically, with eyes darting around the room. He carries his papers awkwardly and starts talking immediately, rushing to fill the silence. Message received. Please be gentle with me. I need your approval. The master of presence enters at a deliberate pace, takes 2 seconds to scan the room and make confident eye contact, and sits down before he speaks. His body language is open, but contained. Message received. My time is valuable. I am in command of my space. My value is non-negotiable. Your reputation instantly becomes your silent protector. When people believe in your consistency, your strength, and your values, they treat you differently. You don't have to argue or prove anything. Your presence does the work for you. That is the power of image. Conscious control, not perfect pretense. Controlling your image does not mean striving for an impossible perfection. It means being consciously intentional. You don't need to have every answer, but you must carry yourself like someone who is disciplined and willing to find them. You don't need to be intimidating or loud. You just need to be unshakably steady. You don't need to dominate the conversation. Just be unshakably clear about who you are and what behaviors you allow. Ask yourself, what type of energy are you releasing into the world each day? When you walk into a space, do you shrink and collapse your aura, or do you stand firmly in your truth? Control your image, not for ego or superficial gain, but for strategic alignment. Because the world can only respond to what it sees. Make sure what it sees reflects the strong, capable, unstoppable man you are actively becoming. Number 6. Deny weakness. Project unyielding stability. Strength is not a mood. It is a deliberate, consistent signal. There is a specific, calculating silence that descends upon a room when you reveal too much of your internal uncertainty. People by nature do not always offer compassion. They calculate. They may not speak their thoughts aloud, but they meticulously notice when you hesitate, when you second-guess your position, or when you allow fear to subtly shape your tone. Slowly, imperceptibly, you begin to lose psychological ground, not because your core competence is lacking, but because the image you are broadcasting says, "I am not ready. I am a negotiable asset." Machiavelli delivered a hard truth that reflects the complexity of human nature. A wise ruler ought never to keep faith when by doing so it would be against his interests. This does not license cruelty. It demands strategic awareness. Sometimes being overly open, blindly trusting, or unnecessarily soft puts you in positions where your goodwill is ruthlessly taken for granted and your necessary silence is fatally mistaken for weakness. This doesn't mean you must become dishonest. It means you must become acutely aware. Strength is not about pretending you are immune to pain. It is the act of holding your ground when that pain threatens to make you crumble. It is the unwavering ability to stand tall and firm even when every instinct demands retreat. The scenario of premature vulnerability. You can measure the cost of this error in betrayed trusts and lost opportunities. Picture this common personal and professional exchange. You are struggling financially or mentally with a major decision. You let your guard down too soon, confiding the true depth of your crisis to a coworker you considered a friend, hoping for sympathy. The weak man receives brief sympathy, followed quickly by the erosion of respect. That coworker now sees you as a liability and uses the information, not maliciously but strategically, to advance their own position. The master of stability holds the line. They acknowledge the difficulty but present a clear path forward. They project the solution, not the breakdown. They retain their leverage because they denied the other person the strategic advantage of seeing their full vulnerability. These moments teach us not to become cold, but to become strategically wise. People instinctively respect boundaries. They may test them, but the respect for the line exists. When you enter a room with calm internal confidence and your words carry weight, not because you shout, but because you rarely waste them, people feel the boundary. You don't have to dominate. You just have to be perfectly clear about where you stand and what you stand for. Protecting the strategic reserve, protecting your emotional and informational energy is not selfish. It is the highest form of self-preservation and strategic intelligence. You are not required to bleed in front of everyone to prove that you are human. Vulnerability is a high-value currency that has a proper place, but only in the hands of those who have demonstrably earned the absolute right to your trust. Everywhere else, let your strength do the talking. So, ask yourself, what message are you broadcasting the moment pressure hits? Do you shrink, apologize for your presence, or soften your voice to soothe others' anxieties? Or do you remind yourself that your strength isn't loud, it's stable, grounded, and always ready? Show the world what unshakable stability looks like. Let your measured strength become the quiet message that says, I may bend under the weight, but I will not break. Number 7. Long-term victory over immediate gain. We all possess a deep, primal hunger for results. We crave the instant gratification of seeing our efforts validated. But in that fierce hunger for progress, most men chase the path of least resistance. What is easy, what is fast, what feels good right now. Later, when the fleeting excitement has evaporated, they are left facing the harsh, unchanging reality. Nothing of substance truly changed. Machiavelli once uttered the phrase, "The ends justify the means." This maxim is universally misunderstood as a license for manipulation. In truth, it is a ruthless reminder to focus your finite energy on what genuinely matters, the outcome that fundamentally transforms your life in the long run, not the brief, transient rush of temporary wins. You have a choice. You can either be the person who continuously sacrifices discipline for immediate comfort, or you can become the one who sacrifices immediate comfort for a profound future no one thought you could build. The psychology of the quick win. Most people fail and abandon their goals, not because they lack talent, but because they suffer from temporal impatience. They want monumental results too quickly. They plant a valuable seed and expect fruit on the very next morning. But real, enduring growth does not shout. It whispers. It demands time. It requires unwavering consistency in the quiet hours when no one is watching or applauding for you. Long-term success is quiet at first. It grows in the shadows, in the pre-dawn mornings, in the late nights when no one sees you still showing up to the fight. It necessitates making the painful choice to say no to things that feel comfortable now. Precisely so you can say a definitive yes to a life that feels fulfilling later. Think of the psychological cost of the quick path. How many times did you break a necessary habit simply because it was hard? How many times did you shirk a critical responsibility for the short-term ease of procrastination? How many times did that single moment of weak relief ultimately cost you far more than you realized down the line? True strength is not found in chasing the quick fix. It is found in the relentless discipline of trusting your own strategic process, staying the course even when external evidence suggests nothing is working yet. Success is not a sudden event. It is a direction, a conscious decision you reaffirm with action every single day. Scenario expansion. The cost of comfort. To internalize the true price of this law, reflect on two common self-sabotage scenarios. The investment lie. You start a long-term investment or skill-building routine, say learning a difficult language or investing in a low-risk fund. After 6 months, the quick-win urge surfaces. You take a small profit or abandon the language because you haven't seen a dramatic return yet. You chase an immediate gratification, a weekend trip or temporary thrill that consumes your initial investment. The result is that you are right back at zero, having sacrificed 6 months of compound growth for a fleeting moment of ease. The discipline failure. You promise yourself you will work on a difficult project for 3 hours every evening. A friend texts you about a spontaneous party. Your commitment is immediately tested. The average man says, "I'll go for 2 hours and come back," knowing he won't. He sacrifices his discipline for an immediate social reward. The master instantly replies, "I'm working on a priority project. I can't. Text me next week." He forfeits the short-term pleasure to reinforce his long-term success habit, thereby strengthening his most vital resource, his self-trust. Machiavelli's wisdom, though centuries old, remains a living mirror for anyone fundamentally serious about strategic growth. When you apply these 8 principles, you are not merely reacting to the dictates of life. You are actively shaping its trajectory. You are not just surviving. You are irrevocably rising. You become the kind of person who doesn't need external validation or rescue because you have already engineered your own total self-sufficiency. Now it's your turn. Drop the ultimate affirmation again in the comments. I am in control of my internal fire, and nothing external can stop my rise. Say it like you mean it. Say it like you're done being stuck. Say it like the future is finally yours to build. Thank you for watching. If this spoke to something deep inside you, like and subscribe for more grounded, honest, and powerful lessons. Your rise continues.